Do you want to say the intro or should I?
You should. Your podcast.
Okay.
You know you don't have to do that, right? You just don't.
But I want to.
Sure. Go ahead.
It helps me.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sit Still and Listen. This week, our topic is about the current event, which is the Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
Yep.
And how we're all being affected by it, whether we've got tickets for it or not. And we hope for the best, but we just know that this reunion tour is going to go on for maybe a year and a half, 2 years. Who knows?
Yeah, it's quite the worldwide trip.
Right. Yeah, and so Sarah and I have different perspectives, of course. She is, what we would call millennial, and I'm a Gen Xer, so we've come through different things. And in my lifetime, I don't recall a large outbreak of a disease.
The AIDS epidemic?
Yeah, but that was very much limited to certain populations.
I guess.
It wasn't something you could catch by going to the grocery store.
True.
Okay.
Very true.
You had to be in a certain behavior group and in a certain,
That's very true. I forgot to take that into consideration before I opened my mouth. I apologize.
Exactly.
But again.
We did have that, though. and it was, it was really blooming through my adolescence into my early adulthood. So it was like front page news constantly. And it was semi-terrifying, and it probably did modify some behaviors early on, or at least brought up the topics of safe sex and all that kind of things that probably wouldn't have happened, I'll be quite honest, if that hadn't been part of my teenagerhood. But nothing has colored the air literally like this has, and it's made people across the whole globe aware of how connected we are to each other. And actually, I can't recall one other time where the world stood still like it has over the past few weeks.
Yeah.
Very unique.
It's kind of crazy. It kind of makes me happy in a way that some people are really taking into consideration other people's needs and other people. They're finally, realizing that, hey, I'm not the only person on this planet. The world doesn't revolve around me. What about my grandma? What about their grandma? What about, that sort of thing. And we talked about globalism versus nationalism on one of our older podcasts. And I think this whole thing kind of reinforces the fact that we are on this dirt ball together and we better play nice with each other because we don't really have another one. And you can't really escape your planet and go somewhere else, even though I would love to go to Mars. So I'm going to Mars, damn it.
Right. Well, and you can't really escape your country right now, even.
No, or your state, or your city.
Travel has been halted. Domestically here in the United States, you can still travel, but they don't really want you to unless it's like an emergency.
Yeah.
We're just beginning to have a little bit of hotels and things are hinting that they're open. One that you and I visit, Sarah, over in, what is that town in California? It's called the Beach Terrace Inn. I'll give them a plug because they're great.
Beach Terrace Inn.
Yeah.
In San Diego?
No, Carlsbad. It's in
Carlsbad. Okay.
Yeah, they advertised that they are open this weekend and to just a very minimal amount of guests, and their beaches were open. So they were showing how they were practicing social distance, and people that were on the beach were far enough apart where they didn't wear masks and they could go in the ocean, and it looked awesome, I must say. But there's the fact of having to drive there,
Yeah.
and things are still shut down.
Yeah, there's not a lot of things that are.
Restaurants are still hit or miss. Yeah, we have a long way to go to get to Carlsbad from Arizona.
Yeah.
And it seems like everybody here is somewhere else. I don't know. We're in the western part of Phoenix. So normally there'd be quite a bit of people leaving the area, and it seems like they did because the roads are pretty dead.
They're all up by me. They're all up at Lake Pleasant.
They went to the recreation areas that were open.
Yeah, the lake is open, so.
Yeah, and to go further north is open. Some of that is open too.
Yeah. There's no
and has been open, I believe, except for maybe the Grand Canyon. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Grand Canyon's open. Yep, Grand Canyon is open.
Slide Rock was evening some people, and
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Say that again. You cut out there.
Slide Rock was open.
Oh, okay.
Some areas in Sedona, I saw.
I'm not going to Slide Rock on a good day. That water is so cold.
It is.
But when it is 115 degrees outside, that water feels really nice.
Yeah, right now we're only in the low 100s.
Yeah.
So another topic I wanted to bring up is that people are under the impression that the high heat seems to slow the Backstreet Boys down, but we've heard that it doesn't. We've read articles from places like Singapore, Japan to a certain extent has heat, and they're just now coming out of some of their lockdown situations.
Well, they actually just lifted. Caution. They actually just lifted their state of emergency ban. I think just yesterday. So they're in a really good spot, actually, just because of how conscientious their population is to other people. Yeah. They out of everybody on the planet, I think they probably have the best way of dealing with being socially distanced and everything else, despite the fact that Tokyo is just like a 4x4 skyscraper nightmare.
Yeah, and having so many people densely packed in there is a problem. If an outbreak happens, it will spread far and fast, and that's one of the things that having done this shutdown, I think, was a really responsible thing to do. I can't speak so much about the economic impact of it.
I can.
I guess.
It's bad.
Yeah, well, obviously it's bad, but a million dead people's bad too, So, and having breaks in our supply chain because people aren't at work or are social distanced and the output is less, is something we can live with. But having whole industries disappear is probably something that will take longer to come back. It's not something like you flip a switch, it's off, it's on. So I think, this is a time where, we need to be grateful that the Backstreet Boys decided to have this tour, because we wouldn't have the time to think about the way we're living and see that nature can come back. And then we can re-engage with things in a different way if we choose to, maybe.
Yeah. You were telling me the other day about how companies, since certain states are reopening, most states are reopening actually, and you're telling me that certain companies were giving out advice to companies to try and entice their workers to come work back in the office. And I thought that was the most sickest thing I could think of.
Well, I think there's been a shift to at-home work, and some people found they loved it, and other people want to go back to the office. It's kind of a love-hate thing.
Yeah.
But some of the larger corporations who have a lot of people in an office setting are finding it that their employees aren't quite ready to come back, and they need them or want them to come back. And I was invited to a webinar for CEOs. I don't know how I got invited to this, but I did.
You're not a CEO.
Right. Well, I did own a company or two.
Yeah, that's true.
That's probably why. I took a few webinars in my day. Anyway, this one here, it gave a really structured set of 6 or 7 steps to make your employees want to come back to the office. It was like strategies to entice employees back to the office.
Catch me not doing that.
Yeah, and if you're able to work from home and productive, I don't know why your company would want you to come back to the office more than just to have a face-to-face for some reason.
Yeah. But even then, like, I would consider this a face-to-face interaction.
Yeah. When you're working with digital products, it is. It's even more face-to-face than face-to-face. Because face-to-face, you're still going to have to pull out a computer or a tablet or something. Yeah. Yeah, so some companies it would make sense and others it wouldn't. But I think we're going to have a real challenge in the fall with schools. And I have been on the fence about working in a school while this is all going on. And I've kind of made a choice not to. And the reason why is because I'm around people who, if they catch this, will die. There's no reason they would.
Sorry.
I'm not around Sarah, though.
Well, kind of.
She is quite a bit socially distanced from me in a whole different building.
Yeah, I'm 15 minutes down the street.
But I'm talking about the guy I live with and my friends who I see in person occasionally. Yeah. There's, a variety of health conditions that they have that they can't catch this. So that's just not going to be doable. So, when you think about that, there are going to be teachers who have people at home they don't want to catch this. There are going to be students who have health conditions and teachers that have health conditions where they can't go into a germy environment. There's no way to social distance 35 children or larger high school students
35
in a room.
35 kids per room. And some of the schools here are in like little temporary station RV huts that are like in like the field where they typically would have recess. And you can only have about 25 students in those rooms, but they pack them full because.
So what will we do as a society about our schools? How will we be responsible towards teachers and students when we go back in the fall, knowing that we still have a virus amongst us that we have no immunity for and passes freely through the air in enclosed spaces?
Yeah.
I'm grateful that they haven't really opened movie theaters here because in Arizona, that's kind of the go-to in the summertime. And, with this going on, I thought the minute they open that's going to be a draw for people who just don't care. They're like, I don't care if I get it. Yeah. I'm going to go, and that would be a big vector.
Yeah, especially here because, I mean, the older population that we have here really likes to go see movies on certain days because the movie theaters that are local give out benefits to the elderly, people who are over the age of 65. They get in for free or something. They get like $2 movie tickets and they just go in and watch movies all day. And it's worth it to do, even if you're not an older person, because like it's 115 degrees outside. Of course you want to sit in a dark, cold room with a big slushie and a mountain of popcorn watching, I don't know, Endgame.
So if you're sitting in an enclosed space with somebody and they're respirating, they're breathing, even if they're asymptomatic, they're putting it out in the air. It's in the air. And all you have to do is breathe it in or pick it up on your skin and then touch somewhere around
your eyes and your mouth and your nose.
Your nose, pick your nose, poke your ear. I don't know. It goes in you anyway. So
I washed my hands, I promise. I've washed my hands before I started recording. So
well,
I'm also at home.
I'm a bit of a germaphobe, I admit it. But you know, in an enclosed space, in a restaurant, in the settings that they're opening now, I don't feel safe. I'm going to wear a mask and I'm probably not going to go, tell you the truth. I'll get takeout or I'll do something else. But, you know, because I am around these vulnerable people, I feel like that's too much. That's too much to do. So there's going to be people that are doing things, and it's not a political reason at all. It's simply just my preference.
I think it's absolutely insane that people are like, you, by wearing a mask, you are making a political statement. I think that is absolutely absurd.
And the mask may or may not work. I don't know.
Well,
you know,
it's according to the CDC, wearing non-medical masks prevents it. So like just like cloth masks that I have, it does
definitely lessens the amount of spit that's flying out my mouth.
Yeah, and it protects me from the spit that, you know, Joe somebody is, you know, just doing the same thing, and he might not be wearing a mask. And I'm not going to say that that's a bad or a good thing. It's his choice to do that, but boy, I really wish you would.
Yeah, I can't really say, you know, they talk about draconian measures and like the scenes from China where people were locked in their buildings or locked in their houses.
So scary.
And
some of the images that came out of that when it first was starting to develop,
right.
It was horrifying.
And I don't think a lot of people saw those images. What they saw was like in Italy where the hospitals got overrun. I think that was the first time people really paid attention, like, wow, a lot of people were sick.
That looks bad. Glad it's not here like 2 weeks later.
It was already here when those images were out. And they think our outbreak came from Europe and not China so much.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter how it got here or when it got here, it's here. And it isn't going to go away. I was reading about Sweden where they didn't really try to mitigate. They didn't try to social distance. No, they didn't. And they've had a death rate that's probably twice as much as what ours is. And the spread is just, you know, enormous. A lot of sick people that will get well, a lot of asymptomatic people, and a lot of dead people. So you kind of have those three categories of Backstreet Boys fans going on in Sweden. However, their goal of doing this was to try to get herd immunity and not stop their economy. Their economy is fine, that they were able to continue to go, but they realized that they're nowhere near herd immunity. And it's going to take forever to get herd immunity. So I don't think that's a goal. I don't think that's going to be a goal.
The herd immunity.
What we can hope is the Backstreet Boys burn out and want to get off tour. And really, I read a lot of literature about, you know, herd immunity, of course, and how this thing spreads. And, you know, I think the chance of it like having what they call a second wave, I don't think we're done with the first wave. No. I think it only slowed down because of what we did. And now that we're not doing that, or we're doing it in a much modified version. It will continue to spread. It's continuing. We're continuing to get cases. And we may continue to have outbreaks throughout the summer and into the fall and into the spring. And the bad part about doing it like that, or how Sweden did it, is that the more people that get it, the easier it mutates.
Yeah.
It's actually more beneficial to not let it spread, and to, people were all up in arms about, how dare you quarantine healthy people? That's like, never been done before.
We're doing it for you.
Well, yeah. And the reason it's never been done before is because we didn't have the means to do it. We never had the means to do it before.
We never had a true reason to be like, we need to stay in the house, or else I might kill somebody. You might kill somebody. I might kill myself by waltzing out and, leaving the house. And I don't understand the people who are like, well, I don't care about that. I don't care about that. It's like, are you sure? Do you not care about your mom, your dad, sister, brother, your dog? What about your cat, bro? Who's going to take care of that? If you're sick and in hospital, having to, fight off this deadly disease.
It's something that just doesn't compute.
It's so strange. Like,
well,
I think
if you've had somebody in the hospital, you know how disruptive that is to a lifestyle in a life. And if you've had somebody in a long recovery process, that really puts a dent in your life.
And it really, and especially if you've had it, I mean, I'm not even going to say prior to this, if you've had it at all, even during this, it really puts into perspective, like, if you were to get this, you're going to have to watch them go through this whole thing through a screen. You can't go visit your loved ones in the hospital while they have this disease, because you can catch it. And the nurses who are helping these people every single day have risk the potential of bringing it home to their family too. And that's terrifying. It's so scary. I would go live in a hotel room until this was over if I knew that I could be bringing it back to my family. I'd be like, listen, I love you guys, but there's no way I'm going to be responsible for killing you by bringing this into our home. So,
right.
Like, I give major props to the fact that, like, they can go do that. Like, I get anxiety just thinking about that.
Well, I got an honest. I'm a person who's really chill, but when I was offered a job in a school district, I literally got anxiety.
It's really scary.
I literally
to think
had
about.
this reaction, like, I can't do it. It's like, okay, you've gone and got your teaching credential, you've finished your degree,
you poor thing,
took all these classes, and you're prepared, you've worked for 18 years to step into this job that's really it's going to fit like a glove, and you can't do it. Yeah, because, okay, it'd be different if I could stay there and not come home. But just the idea of going there, picking up all that, and then coming here and possibly infecting my husband, who would die. Yeah, can't do it.
It puts into perspective, like, what you...
But what I'm saying is, okay, you have these other places that aren't mitigating and aren't letting people know this is highly contagious, and it isn't the flu. It's definitely mimics the flu at first, but there's definitely a blood aspect to it. Like there's a clotting of your blood that happens when you get this, and it definitely leaves a mark on you that you're gonna have 8 weeks, say, if you get the bad version of this, which might include a hospital,ization for a few weeks.
And a ventilator, if you're extraordinarily unlucky.
If you're on a ventilator, there's 50-50 chance you'll come off that ventilator.
And it's like every week it goes down incrementally by 10. It's like when they first put you on it, it's a 50-50 chance. The next week it's 60-40. The week after that, it's 70-30 or whatever. And it's like,
and if perhaps if we hadn't had a few run-ins with ICU, we might be okay with like the unknown, like, oh well.
yeah, we've never been inside of an ICU. What could we possibly?
We've never had to deal with somebody who may or may not come off a ventilator. Just because you're young also doesn't mean that you can't have the bad side of this thing happen to you.
Yeah.
And once you do, you're going to have a problem the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, I had this really bad flu once and now like I'm immune to it and I can, whatever, rock on. No, I don't think it's going to be like that.
I like to think of it. I know it's completely not this at all, but bronchitis kind of has something similar with it, where once you get bronchitis or once you have bronchitis, it's really, really easy for your body to get it again because your immune system is weak as hell to it. And people who have gotten tickets to the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, they've noticed that they're coming back to the hospital weeks and months later because they've caught it again. So I'm not a medical professional. I don't have a degree in that. I make art and stupid videos for a living. I think, though, that even if you do get it and you're hoping like, oh, I got it, I'm immune to it now. Nah. If anything, you need to be extra super careful because, yeah, I think, your body is a little bit more susceptible to getting it. And like I can
or something like it,
or something very, very similar to it.
Issue.
Yeah,
again,
because like I've had bronchitis twice, and the first time it was bad. I was out for like a month, and I couldn't go to work because I couldn't breathe. And then the second time I got it, I didn't even realize that I had it. And when I went to the doctor, like a week after, I had this really terrible cough that would just come up every now and again, and I'm like, man, and it really winded me when I did it. I was like, something's wrong, but I didn't feel sick. I didn't have a fever. I didn't have any of that. I went to the doctor and he was like, if you would have waited another 2 days, you'd have been in the hospital. And I was like, oh good. Well, glad I'm here. Please give me antibiotics so I can live.
Yeah, and this isn't something the antibiotic is going to fix.
No. If anything, that makes it worse. Because
I'm not sure what it does, but
I don't really think it's going to do anything. You just end up like dehydrating faster, and like I don't even know. I don't like it. I don't like it, Mama.
So this is our talk on the Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys reunion tour. It's not good.
2020.
2020.
I'm glad they waited a while to come back.
I think we should formally apologize to the Backstreet Boys.
I hope that's not a copyright infringement.
I don't think it is.
Let's wrap this up, Sarah.
So our affiliate link this week is Audible. I am actually currently listening to I forget who the author is who's reading it to me. I should look it up. It'll be in the description. I'm actually listening to Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. I'm halfway through the trilogy there. So I listen to that while I do stupid stuff. Like what I was doing this afternoon actually was listening to that while learning how to play the ocarina. I'm currently trying to teach myself toss a coin to your Witcher. So if that tells you a day in the life of what I do when I don't have anything going on, that's what I do. I teach myself how to play instruments and I listen to audiobooks or podcasts. So, yeah,
sounds good.
That link will be in the description along with the Two Towers audiobook link for our Audible. So
yeah, and Sarah and I will put our links in there too to the projects we're working on right now.
Yep.
So I love you, Sarah.
Love you too, Ma.
Take care of you.
You
and
too.
All of you out there, we'll see you next time.
Take care of yourselves, drink water, wear a mask, wash your hands.
Until next time, sit still and listen.
Bye.
Bye.